Are you sick of waking up with anxiety and regret after drinking? I get it. I was a weekend binge drinker, fooling myself into believing I was detoxing all week, only to retox every weekend and live completely outside of alignment with my values. As a former personal trainer who cared about health, that disconnect pushed me to finally make a change. I'm Maureen Benkovich, and this is Sober Fit Life, a podcast where we get real about alcohol, share powerful stories, and learn from wellness experts so you can thrive physically, mentally, and emotionally. Let's get sober fit. Have you ever Googled, "Am I an alcoholic?" Me too. And here's the thing, it's not a helpful question. Those quizzes just slap on a label. Yes, you are. No, you're not. But what if it's not about the label and more about how drinking actually makes you feel? That's why I created Am I Drinking Too Much? It's the quiz I wish had existed when I was searching. No scare tactics, no rock bottom required. You'll get your results and a free guide that explains gray area drinking, plus 3 science-backed strategies to reduce or interrupt cravings. Take it at soberfitchick.com/MI. That's MI, as in, am I drinking too much? soberfitchick.com/MI. So hey, today we are joined by Pam Adams, a board-certified nutritionist and personal trainer with over 20 years of experience empowering midlife women. Specializing in perimenopause, Pam creates personalized nutrition and fitness plans that help women over 40 redefine their relationship with food and fitness. So if you're feeling unsure or caught off guard by the changes of midlife, this is the episode you'll definitely want to tune into. Pam's expertise and genuine care will give you the tools and confidence you need to navigate perimenopause and take control of your health, which is what we all want, right? So
Yes.
Without further ado, let me introduce Pam.
Hello.
Hello. I am so excited to have you here. So I have to share our history.
Okay,
because
that's fine.
I realized I've known you for about 20 years. Because I
Has it been 20?
Well, yeah, because I did a figure competition when I started doing training for it with your husband, Ron, when I was, I think 38 or 39. And I did my last competition when I was just turning 40. So, and now I'm, do the math, I'm 58. So yeah, we have known each other for that long.
Oh my gosh, it's so how time flies.
I know.
It was just like yesterday. I really enjoyed that time.
I did too. Sure. Well, I have to say, so Pam and Ron have the patience of saints, because it was like from the movie Miss Congeniality, where they're trying to turn Sandra Bullock's character, who's like this, rough and tumble cop, into a graceful fitness pageant person. I was like the most ungraceful person, and Pam was tasked with teaching me how to walk in high heels and a bikini that's glued on you, basically. And to smile and look like, it's not full of effort. But I will tell you, she did a great job. And I actually did, I walked down that stage and looked decent and had a great time. But that was really how we started working together so long ago, was when her husband convinced me to do a figure competition.
Oh, he convinced you. Well, you looked fabulous, by the way. You did such an amazing job. So
thank you. Well,
very, very good.
Pam is actually a former pro fitness competitor. So I was just, dallying in the, just trying it out. But Pam actually went pro. So I'd love for you to, tell people a little bit about that, and also your history, because she was also in the music industry, which I forgot about until you sent me your bio. Yeah. And so kind of weave into that. You were in the music industry, and you also did talk about back then you were drinking kind of socially and in the music industry. And as you transitioned in the fitness industry, you started to reevaluate that and eventually made some changes. So I'd love to have you take it away and talk about yourself.
Yeah. So I had a later start with getting into the music industry. I ended up starting in my late 20s. And I moved to New York, and I was in the music business. And when people hear music business, oh, were you singing? Were you? No. Right. I was in marketing and promotions and artist management at the time. Loved what I did, and it was up to almost 10 years of doing that. But what was coming into play with that is that the amount of stress I was going through at the time. And also struggling with like panic attacks
Hmm.
and also low mood. I was just going through it, but my
Right.
body was telling me signs that there were issues coming with that. And my escape at a certain point of trying to deal with it was, with the music industry, with entertainment, social events, drinking, at first it was like, hey, I'll just have a drink after dinner, all those things.
Right.
But then that became oh my God, I'm so stressed out. Let me just have something to drink. So that's how it first
Sure.
started. But I could see I wasn't feeling well, but I wasn't really listening to my body at the time, really what was happening. Fast forward, I was getting very exhausted by the whole situation and how my body was responding. And I just wanted to make a change in my life. So I quit.
Hmm.
I don't recommend that with anybody, but I did. I just didn't quit. And then I changed my whole career and decided to go into the fitness industry. I wanted to find another way to find how I could take care of myself and have a better relationship with understanding how to heal myself.
Yes.
So once I started learning a little bit more about the fitness industry and how it works, especially with nutrition, I started where I started to compete in the beginning as I became a personal trainer. And that's my first experience. And one of the eye opening things was nutrition and fitness and how it really transformed how I felt.
Yes.
And with that experience, just in general, it just came down to the point of, you know, I think I want to go pro. So, but I noticed that during the time where I was getting ready for these shows, I wasn't drinking at that
Hmm.
time because nutrition was more important. At that point, it was the focus of how my body was going to transform and do
Right.
the things that you had to do as a competitor. And yeah, so I got a chance to really see how nutrition,
Hmm.
fitness, and how my relationship with alcohol played a role also in how I was feeling.
Yeah. So that's, I think, something a lot of people don't know, and I certainly didn't know when I signed up to do these contests, was you don't drink alcohol. I mean,
Mm-mm.
bodybuilders, figure, fitness, bikini competitors, they do know this secret that alcohol affects you negatively as far as, body composition and how you feel and muscle
Mm-hmm.
protein synthesis, building muscle. So they really did know this way back when. So when I remember when your husband said, so you can't drink when you're going to do this contest. And I don't think I even shared this with either one of you, but back then I was drinking more than I wanted to. And I actually found that as a relief. Like, I could tell people, hey, I can't drink because I'm doing this contest. And I
Mm-hmm.
found that to be a relief because I had an excuse.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I
So
did not know that.
people couldn't pressure me because I'm going to do this contest and get up on stage in this itty bitty bikini. And I, I want to give it my all. But I think the difference is, what I hear you saying is, you, in that time when you were training and eating and not drinking, you really took note of it and you really started to make some changes because you were feeling so much better.
Yeah, I started feeling so much better. But when I started, when I had the breaks in between the competitions, I would just have like a glass or two. But
Hmm.
my relationships are changing with that alcohol because now it wasn't about escape or not dealing with the anxiety or the worry, the stress, all those things where I used to use it for. And
Right.
then eventually it changed and it made such a difference. I remember the day that it wasn't like this one moment I had a light bulb go off and like, you're never going to drink again, it's fine, it wasn't one of those. It
Right.
was after I had my son. I had been on bed rest for 5 months. Like again, that experience of time where those stressors were there for me. And then just after I started competing again, right after he was born, not right after, that sounded crazy, about a year after. It's
That's
just
a
really
good
how I
time.
said
Yeah.
that. That's interesting. Yeah, but I just remember the experience. It was just that moment. I was about to get something to drink, and then I took a sip, and I was like, nah, doesn't feel good.
Right.
I'm good. I don't need it. And then it just gradually just happened. So yeah, it just took time, but
Yeah, it
it
does
was
take
no.
time. The whole reason you changed and left the music industry was you were listening to your body. You got into fitness and nutrition, and you really were listening along the way. I was ignoring it along the way.
Mm,
And
mm-hmm,
and so
mm-hmm.
unfortunately after the contest I went back to that lifestyle of drinking for a while until the anxiety and stress and depression really got to me, and I started to put it together like, okay, wait a minute, after a big drinking weekend, I am really down in the dumps and really anxious, and And when I started to look up the biochemical results of drinking, I realized that's what was happening to me.
Wow, that's really interesting that you saw that. Some people don't research to that level of understanding. So that was great that you took that next step. Because it is, you can kind of almost be overwhelmed or not really want to understand
Oh,
or
yeah.
don't know how to listen to your body. A lot of women struggle with that.
Yes.
So, yeah,
And
I
I bet
commend
you
you for
see
that.
that because you work with women who are either
Yes.
entering perimenopause or in perimenopause. What about menopausal? Do you work with menopausal women as well?
Yes, I do. But the majority of the women I do work with are in perimenopause. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the age range for just women in general, if we take the menopause part out, I mean, I'm working with women probably like in their mid 30s. And my oldest client is like 82 years old.
Wow.
So I have this full, pre-menopause, peri, and post, of course, I go through all stages there. But yeah, the emphasis has definitely been perimenopause for women midlife, going as early as in their 30s, 35, early
Mm-hmm.
40s. And just by personal experience also, because
Right.
I'm going through the menopausal transition too. I'm 53. And so what is that commercial or whatever, that hair club thing? You know, I'm not only a client, I'm a president. So,
Hair club for men. Yeah.
right.
But that's great because you have lived experience. Exactly why I coach and help people change their relationship with alcohol, because I have lived experience and I understand the stresses and how it can feel scary and hard and the things you need
Mm-hmm.
to learn to make the changes. So that's perfect that you know what you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about because you go through it. So
Yeah,
what
I'm
is
big.
the, like, when women come to you, what is one of their biggest challenges around nutrition and making the changes that will help them?
Some of the struggles that we'll hear, or I hear, or we, have conversations with the girlfriends, for example. Girl, you going through this? Is struggles with the body composition. Increased inches around the waistline.
Mm-hmm.
That menopausal belly fat going
Yes.
on. Also, though, even changes as far as with going through mood swings. Depression, anxiety, or I'll just say low mood, for example. Brain fog, can't think straight, loss for words. That may happen even in this podcast
Right.
right now, because that will
That's what I
happen.
was thinking.
just just so everybody understands. But yeah, a majority of the struggle, low energy,
Oh,
fatigue,
yes.
uh, bloating, digestive issues, you name it, pretty much everyone be like, yeah, yes, yes, joint pain, all of that. But yeah, a majority of it is struggling with, well, I'm eating well and I'm exercising, but I don't see a change. And I don't understand what's going on. And, one of the conversations that will come up with nutrition is also, what's your intake with alcohol? What is your relationship with alcohol?
Mm-hmm.
But when I have those conversations with my clients, it's not, it gives them a chance to discuss it. It's not about this judgment, because
Yes.
I'm like, you don't know me. So are you going to be able to share that
Right.
with me? But if it's something that you need to share, of course, I'm here to listen, but there is no judgment in any way. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you're about to say something.
No, that's so important, the no judgment. And people are afraid to share because they're afraid they're going to be judged. So
Yeah,
that's so
yeah, that
nice that you
stigma.
bring that up. Yeah, that's important. My trainer and I, we used to talk about that. It was like the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
He would ask how you're doing. How was your weekend? How was your nutrition? Oh, my nutrition was great. Yeah, I got my workouts in. But let's not talk about that one piece of my nutrition, the alcohol.
One
That's like
piece.
-0 calories, right? That really, doesn't count, but it does
Yeah,
count so
it
much.
does count. It does count. And yeah, that can be a very challenging thing for people to share during the conversation in the beginning. I put it in my intake forms for sure, but then I get that chance to talk with my, comprehensive time of assessment and get a chance to really have that conversation and build that relationship so we can
Hmm.
really get to the bottom of what could be going on. And it doesn't mean, yeah, the diet's one thing, but then how is alcohol affecting like your gut health, for example, or could be affecting your blood sugar? Maybe it's affecting how your body is responding into, maybe you have certain health goals that you're focusing on, your fitness goals.
Yeah,
All those things can play a role through alcohol.
you mentioned that. Let's talk about that, the connection between blood sugar, alcohol, and
Mhm.
perimenopause. What is that connection?
That connection with blood sugar, alcohol. And perimenopause. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, with perimenopause, just in general, the fluctuation of hormonal shifts that are happening can affect potentially insulin resistance for some women because of the fluctuation of estrogen levels and also the slow decline of happening with progesterone, also
Mhm.
can affect us. And then it's sometimes with our appetite, our cravings, changes in gut health and our microbiome, the diversity of our gut can also play a role.
Right.
So, I mean, it's various factors that go on in terms of our blood sugar. But one of the things that are very challenging is that you might notice that your cravings will increase, for example, wanting a little bit more sugar, more
Mhm.
carbs. And the thing is that what's so key about that is making sure that you're balancing your blood sugar in every way. The reason why I say this is because we might want to crave more, like I said, those sweets or those carbs, but they can also make us feel just awful. You feel like crap.
Right.
Can I say that?
Yeah, you can
Right.
say crap.
Yeah, yeah. You can feel pretty bad physically and also mentally, and it also can affect your emotions also because there's not this balance of nutrients of your macronutrients of your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. They all
Right.
balance out to have where you don't have this fluctuation or roller coaster of spikes and then this bottoming out where we're feeling like I need more to get me through.
Mhm.
That could be carbs. That could be even dealing with stress and emotional situations going on. That it's not just about the carbs. We look for the alcohol to
Right.
help us with that
It's
too.
that
And I
reward
mean,
pathway in the brain. It's that instant
yes,
reward pathway, and alcohol and sugar run the same reward pathway in the brain.
absolutely, absolutely. So sometimes it'll be, well, I'm in a, I've heard clients say, well, I don't feel that great after I've had a long day. I've been under a lot of stress. I just want to, you know what? I just want a glass of wine. So
Mhm.
they'll have a glass of wine just before dinner, but then they'll also grab other things because maybe they've skipped meals, right?
Right. Right.
They want something else. They want more carbs, to try to help boost serotonin, make them feel good for a little
Yes.
bit. But sometimes that could be great for a moment, and then they got that crash. I don't know if you've had that personal experience. I've had
Mhm.
it. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know if you've had clients also share that with you, but as far as that reward system, like you're mentioning now.
100%. And once you have the first drink, then, all the other, things you've said you're not going to do or you're not going to eat, that goes out the window because then all your inhibitions start to go away. And you're like, well, I'll eat that, whatever it is in front of you while you're cooking dinner, or,
Right.
at a
Right.
restaurant. Oh, forget it. I'm going to order the pasta, even though Pam and I talked about maybe not having that for dinner. Right? So,
Yeah,
so
and I
how
see
did,
so many people like protein. Yes, I'm looking for protein. Yeah, I don't hear
yeah,
that crave. I'm going to eat a salad or with protein in it. No one's thinking that
right.
way.
So it sounds like you have to coach people on what are macronutrients and how that balances blood sugar. I think, do a lot of people have an understanding of that, or do you have to kind of re-educate or educate how that's going to help them?
That's a great question. For the most part, it's almost re-educating,
Hmm.
but not just by the nutrition aspect of, okay, this is how you're going to add protein to each meal to start helping you feel more satiated to also help balance your blood sugar, but it's also listening to your body as well, which is just as important. And I
Right.
know I've said it a few times, but it's so key.
It
So even
is.
though I might be helping the balancing of making sure, like I said, protein in every meal, making sure that your carbohydrates are not highly processed. We want to try to get as close to your whole food sources as possible. And also making sure there's certain healthy fats. So you have this balance in your meals so your energy levels are good, a little bit more supporting with your fitness goals. But the thing it comes right back down to, even though we're balancing your meal, how do you feel?
Right.
How does it make you feel? And when I say that, how are your energy levels? How's your mood? Are you feeling digestive problems going on? All those things that are just so important that we start to miss. We even miss hunger cues. We
Hmm.
kind of miss that because we hear all the things about what we're supposed to be eating, or you're supposed to eat this much, and then we lose sight of what works for you
So,
personally.
so your coaching is similar to mine in that you're helping people become aware of
Yes,
things that they've
awareness.
been unaware of. You know,
Right,
I help
right.
people with
Because we
what are
lose sight
your
of that.
triggers. Yeah, we lose sight of that and mindlessly grab for the food, the pizza, the late
Hmm.
night snack. even though our
Mm-hmm.
desire is to, be healthier. So you're trying to
Yeah.
coach people to become aware of their triggers, very much like alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
right? If stress, they'll eat
Yes.
chocolate or something like that. There's that sugar reward pathway.
Yeah, a lot of that. And then also helping to try to get more observant of what's going on without judgment, which is very challenging for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of women to go through because then, trying to discuss as far as like, do you feel, what are the reasons why you went that way? Is it a
Right.
reward? Is it boredom? Is it stress? Are you trying to, whatever that is, it's to kind of observe and figure out what is going on so we can help. Because I partner with the person I'm working with. It's not me just
Yes.
going, let me throw some things at
Telling them
you.
what to do.
You let me know
Yeah.
how that goes. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
We're
luck.
working together. Yeah.
I
Good
love
luck with
that
that.
because you're asking them to be curious instead of beat themselves up, or
Yeah.
be curious instead of the what the hell effect. I also call it too. Like, what the hell? I already had one piece of cake. I might as well eat the whole thing.
Oh, well,
Right.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. What the hell? I already had
Yeah.
one drink. I might as well finish the bottle. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. So getting people to pause and be like, well, what was I hoping to get out of that piece of cake? And did
Yes.
I get out of that what I thought I was going to get?
That's a good point. In addition to what just thought in my mind was
Mm-hmm.
when I work with the women that I do, that I am also not the food police.
Right.
Right. Well, Pam said, I don't, yeah, it's not that. I'm trying to empower the individual, which is more important, than anything for me to empower the women I work with and not to be this person that's like, hopefully they don't see me as a food police. I don't want to be that person.
No, I think you're very compassionate. I know this having worked with you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
also I think, yeah, we're hit with like all these changes. All of a sudden we feel very out of control. And maybe we've been able to control our diet, our fitness, our body composition, in our early 20s and early 30s. But after all kinds of changes, either having children or hormonal changes, and all of a sudden we're like, whoa, I never had this belly weight around my middle. I don't, all the usual things I used to do aren't working. So they come to you and say, help me.
Yep.
But
In
I
a
think,
nutshell, that's
and
what
I
happens.
think that they come to you and say, help me. I want to lose weight right here. Like, do you often have that? Like, I just want to lose weight right here.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. I just this one area, and I take such a holistic approach with each woman because that's so important. Sometimes we feel like, oh well, if I eat better, which they're probably eating very well, it's just we just need to make a couple shifts.
Right.
It's just and also taking that stigma when it comes to alcohol. Oh God, it's my fault,
Mm-hmm.
or oh well, now I'm old, so forget it.
Right.
You have there's so many things you can do holistically as far as when I brought that up is not just in your diet itself, but then also how you manage your stress, your quality
Yes.
of sleep. It's okay to say no to things. That goes back to the
Huge.
stress part.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to say no. You're allowed. But just those two alone, your physical activity, what that is for you, is key also. But self care is a big one. So it's not just what you eat and exercise. There's so much more to that, especially at this time
Mm-hmm.
of midlife. For women who are going through perimenopause, where there's a lot going on. Your body is inflamed. There's a lot of shifts happening. It's just so much. You're just like, I don't understand what the hell is happening in my
Right.
body right now and how I'm feeling. And some of that will come back to women where they're just what, I don't understand what's happening, and they may use alcohol for that
Sure.
support.
The stress, because
Yeah,
it's the reason why we do it is because it's fast. It
yeah,
happens right away, and it
yeah,
does depress your central nervous system, and you get that calming down. But you're sharing with them how to calm down their central nervous system and regulate their physiology in other ways, so that they're more resilient to stress and don't turn to alcohol. Which is, I mean, it's very similar what we do. Um,
yeah, yeah.
you're doing it with food and nutrition and fitness and lifestyle, and I'm doing the same thing as well as removing alcohol. So that's great. I makes so much sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, true, true. With the whole thing of calming the nervous system, I'm glad you mentioned that. The parasympathetic sympathetic is key. It's about trying to get that balance. The only way we can do that is through our lifestyles, but also being proactive in that sense. When we say that, doesn't mean you're going to do this huge overhaul. For some women, they may like, I don't have enough time to
Right.
even breathe.
Right.
I'm in this sandwich generation kind of situation with caring for my parents, or for example, or I
And
have
kids. Yep.
kids, and I have a new career, or maybe I'm questioning my relationship right now with certain things, and it could be overwhelming. Like, and I hear this a lot. How the heck do I fit that in?
Right.
And it doesn't have to be a huge thing. It's just kind of figuring how important it is to you as far as prioritizing your health and wellness. Does what you're doing right now fit with your goals? How important is it to invest in that time? Does it only take 5 minutes? I think I have people look at me like I have three heads when I'm going, even 5 minutes of just go outside.
Yes.
Just get some sunshine, just something to just start. It doesn't have to be this, okay, 45 minutes to an hour. Some women don't feel
It's
like
too
that's
overwhelming.
even possible. It's too overwhelming. So even 5 minutes can make a difference, and you just kind of build from there.
So you help them break it down into tiny bite-sized pieces, and that doesn't feel so scary and overwhelming, and then you build from there.
Yes. And also looking at it in such a way with nutrition, for example, is, it could be a little intimidating meeting with someone who does nutrition, trying to give you support, and you feel like, oh, good Lord, they're going to tell me to take everything out. I can't eat anything.
Right.
And the other way I always put the focus on, like, let's look at ways we can find what to add. So for example, we're looking at gut health, for example, if it's this importance where I notice that gut health may be, an issue, which is a classic issue for women in perimenopause. And, if you are struggling with alcohol intake, which can add more, issues with gut health, what are one of the things I can do? Maybe alcohol might be a vice at the time, and maybe that's not the conversation this individual may not be having. So I'm like, okay, well, what things can I focus on right now? And it could be like, let's add certain things into your diet to help you without you feeling more restrictive, or me telling you, you have to do this. That could be another way where people might go,
back off.
I don't know if I want to do that. And they'll back off.
No, I love that approach, because again, you're helping to build their physiology first before you ask them to remove something that they're relying on to manage their stress. So if you get their sleep more in line and eating more protein, then you can talk about that elephant in the room. But that may not be one of the first things that you can address.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes I see people where it's maybe not alcohol, it's even coffee. Like coffee is like a big one too.
Yes.
And they're like, I drink, I think I had one person where there's like 7, 8 cups, like they just drink coffee all day, but that's their thing. That's what they need. So that is not energy. The first thing I would be like, hey, let's work on that.
Right. Because you'll lose them if you go right for that thing that they're relying on. So it's helping them in the other ways.
Stressor. Yeah, it's another stressor.
You brought up the I word. I think that's so important. Inflammation.
Yeah.
And from what I'm reading and learning is really it's the basis of all disease is inflammation. And so when we look at things like coffee, there's a lot of debate about that. But like alcohol, we know for sure it's an inflammatory agent. And it does disrupt the gut microbiome and increases estrogen. So when we're looking at perimenopause, those are things we want to get away from. But let's talk about a little bit more about inflammation and how you give people some bite-sized advice to reduce inflammation.
Inflammation. So say, for example, in the nutrition aspect of this, one of the things we'll look at too is your intake in certain foods. So in perimenopause also, surprisingly, you might notice some food sensitivities happening or intolerances that you might not have been aware of, or they were existing and now it seems worse. So we would be discussing that first and finding out what are the things that are possibly causing inflammation. And sometimes it could be what we're eating. And that's where the awareness kicks in, right? So, I mean, either there's testing involved in there, or, maybe it's stool analysis, maybe if that was one of the options go. Another way is in terms of elimination. But again, it's a very sensitive thing. It depends on the individual and what they can handle. But we were looking at more of the triggers. For some people, it might be, is there issue with dairy?
Yeah.
Is there gluten? Is there wheat? Is it soy? Things that may have known are possible intolerances, sensitivities, but they seem to go back to it anyway, and it's causing more inflammation. So that's probably one of the first discussions we would be looking at. And then, what also comes with inflammation too is stress can cause inflammation, also to the body. So we'll be looking at that. What are things are your go-tos, if you even have them, to help reduce the stress? Because then the amount of stress that's happening, causing inflammation is something that is almost overlooked. It's kind of interesting. I have the discussion and talking about, let's calm the nervous system down.
Well, we live in this really fight or flight society. Like, everybody's working hard all the time. We can work now 24 hours from home, right? You can work all the time and you're go, go, go. And people don't really take time to slow down. I know that's something I've had to work on, is slowing down, breath work, trying to relax, without artificial substances. So it is a challenge for most people, because the society encourages go, go, go.
Which, it's funny that you just said that, is the thought of the gut-brain connection.
Yes. Big. Talk about that.
Right? So the amount of stress and inflammation, or serotonin in the gut, second brain, which was mind-blowing when I went to grad school and was like, what?
Yes.
Who knew, right? But you think of the amount of inflammation that's happening in the gut can also then affect your gut-brain axis or connection,
Yes.
and it can affect your mood and, the amount of stress levels that you're going through. Like, it's this vicious cycle that happens, So I personally have been through it. I'm curious to hear what you've gone through. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that was the other thing with drinking for me. My gut was so bad, and again, I didn't want to think it couldn't possibly be the alcohol, for the longest time, because I didn't want to look at that. But then when I eliminated everything else, I'm like, okay, it is the alcohol. And I had gut permeability. I have celiac. So I was really just continuing to destroy my gut and removing the offensive agent, the alcohol, and then going through a program of healing my gut lining has made all the difference in the world. But then with that, I started sleeping better and, mentally processing things better, less brain fog. So that gut, like you said, we don't realize how important it is and how many serotonin receptors are in the gut. I think, is it even more than the brain? I'm not sure. I thought I read that.
It might be. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point you mentioned about the gut lining too, because, if you're already going through so much in peri as it is, that can then affect your gut health. But then when you're adding alcohol to the mix of that too, it causes even that more inflammation, affects that gut lining. Then things are entering into the bloodstream because the tight junctions in the small intestines, for example, are not there. Almost like that's somewhat of a barrier, like a guard, like, okay, this is where we're taking in, but we can get to the point where the food sensitivity issues become a problem for some individuals, or they start noticing that their emotions and the moods are off too.
Yes.
Connection, gut brain, that's a key thing. Other besides alcohol, intakes of sugar can be also play that same kind of thing too. So
absolutely.
it's also reducing sugar is a big one too.
Yeah. I mean, sugar is just as addictive as alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And when I'm saying sugar, refined sugars, I think sometimes people will connect, well, I've heard this, well, fruit is high in sugar, but it's like a natural source of sugar, but you're also getting fiber. Right. But when I'm saying sugar, I'm talking like refined sugars. Yeah. That can cause a lot of inflammation.
And we're getting so much sugar in our daily diet if we're not conscientiously, being aware, reading
labels, yeah, which is
taking
key.
that out. Who's a good success story you can think of or talk about, someone who's come to you and was struggling and you worked together? And
a good success
put me on the
story.
spot there, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of did. Okay. Did it show it in my eyes? I'm like, okay, oh wow, they're so There's so many.
Or maybe, yeah. Or I'd love to hear about the 80-year-old woman, that you said you work with, and she's been working
Oh
with you.
yeah, yeah. There's actually two of them. They're wonderful. I learned so much from them. One, I'll say her. She's 81,
Wow.
and she is type 2 diabetes, right? She struggles through that. So she also is been sober 30 years.
Nice.
Yeah, right. And she has done amazing things, but she struggles with diabetes. But she has really, we have worked together in strength training,
So
which,
important.
yeah, right, strength training in 81. And then also, working with her diet as well. To now, for her, fat loss has come down, and
Mm.
she's been very happy, and she's much more active. Now, keep in mind, hear me out. This success story is awesome because she never worked out before
Oh,
until
that
she
is
met
great.
me. So we started when she was 79.
Oh, that's
79
great.
years old. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when you hear, oh, it's too late, when I'm in my 40s or 50s, no, she was 79 and she started working for me because one of her girlfriends I used to work that works with me also. She's been training with me for maybe 20 years. So now she's 80 also. So she hooked her girlfriend up and said, hey, start working out at 79. So, but
I
yeah,
love that
like,
story because so many women, you're right, say, well, this is just how it is. This is who I am. It's too late to change. It's too hard to change. And here this woman is like, I'm not giving up, basically. I'm going to hire and work with somebody who knows more than I do about all this and is going to help me and guide me.
yeah, yeah. And we kept it simple. And I think that's what, when
Sure.
I work with my clients, I keep it simple. It's not about this huge overhaul because it's a process. It takes time,
Yes.
and you're going to struggle with things, and that's okay. We just change it up and figure out what's going to work best for you. I emphasize you. I
Mm-hmm.
think I did that earlier, but it's just so important because we're just as individual as our personalities, and it's so a key. Like someone who's listening now, where you might have a girlfriend or somebody who's doing something, and you're like, oh well, I'll do exactly what they're eating, or
Right.
or maybe I'll make a change. I'm like, no, because you're different than they are. You're going to respond differently because of whatever other factors that might be going on. Like even with your lifestyle, if you're very busy and you're going through a lot of things, meal planning and may not be the best option. We may have to figure batch cooking, for example,
Mm-hmm.
might be the best option for you, or quick, easy things because you're on the run with practices with your kids, or
Right.
or you're an executive and you're running a business or whatever that is, where you have more challenges in your life, where you're handling your stress a little differently and you need support. Your nutrition and your fitness is going to be different than the next person. So I
So you
always keep
truly
that.
do individualize. You meet with these women, you talk to them, get to know their lifestyle, and over
Yeah.
time you can help prescribe. And some of it sounds like trial and error, which makes sense, you
Yeah,
know.
some of it's trial and error based on what they can handle. So, we start small
Mm-hmm.
and then we build from that. It's about celebrating the small wins. I think we miss that part, and just
Yes.
like each day, just celebrate something. You did great. Even if it was off by one day, no problem. You
Yeah.
know, yeah,
It's one of my
not
favorite
perfect.
books called Tiny Habits. And the author talks about celebrating the small wins are so important because that locks in those new neural pathways. That habit change happens with the tiny wins building over
Hmm.
time. And I do the
Hmm.
same thing in my coaching. Hey, let's celebrate that you didn't drink for 3 days. That's great. So then, we'll build on that, because people automatically turn around and get hard on themselves. Like, I was not drinking for 3 days and then I drank. Okay,
Right.
let's focus on the positive part and what you learn from that, and how can we take that in the future. And it sounds like you do the same thing with your fitness and nutrition training.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I always do it that way. I think it's so important because, like some we get overwhelmed in thinking that you have to do this big overhaul, and oh, that's just a little thing, but it's not getting me to where I am. I'm like, well, actually these little steps can get
Yes.
you where you need to go. So yeah, it's just as important.
And most
I really
people,
do.
including myself, we want, just tell me the end game. Just tell me A, B, and C, how to get there. Give me the cliff notes. And so it sounds like you need to slow them down and back things up and say, let's take our time. Let's break this down. Let's make this just for you. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly how I do it every single time. Yeah, and
That's
I like
great.
it that way. That's how I learn pretty much on how it was for me, and
Hmm.
then a lot of my experience has been to then inspire and share with women that I work with now. Like it's about the small things that make a
Yes.
big difference.
Well,
Yeah,
you
that'll
are
get you there.
inspiring. That is, you've always been inspiring as long as I've known you. But I'll tell you, everybody, go to Pam's Instagram. You want to be inspired. She
Oh,
shows videos of her working out. So she walks the walk. You know, she's not just telling people what to do. She does this for herself. And you can see her. What is your Instagram called?
synergy with Pam.
Synergy with Pam. That makes so much sense because synergy is total body, mind, body, fitness. So I
Yeah,
love that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and where do you do your training if someone locally is listening and wants to find you?
Locally, I have a studio, but I also do mainly virtual for
You do.
clients. And the
Okay.
reason, because the women are so busy,
Yes.
where if you able to fit your fitness there or support nutrition, I do everything majority is all virtual. So it makes it a lot easier for the ladies.
So do you have people all over the country, not just here in Maryland? We're both in Maryland, so that's what I was thinking. But
Yes, yes, I do. So I do work with women outside of the Maryland area also. But for the majority, I'm thinking most of it is really Maryland. And which, yeah. And now that I think about it, yeah, it's been mainly Maryland. And a lot of individuals I work with have also been just returning too, which has been great too. It's great to see all the
that is
friendly
great.
faces. Yeah.
So virtually, if you're training someone, do you encourage them to get certain equipment, probably resistance bands or things that might be easy for them to have and be on screen with you and going through these workouts?
Yeah, yeah. I usually do recommend certain types of equipment available to them. They do not have to have this extravagant gym, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
functional trainer. They don't need all that.
Yes.
So yeah, as long as free, some free weights available for sure, especially because we're supporting here with lean muscle, increasing lean muscle because we start losing lean muscle.
That's right.
Yeah, so we get all sarcopenias, and we want to make sure that we're working on that. So I do highly recommend free weights for sure, and some bands too. And if they have additional equipment, that's even better,
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah, I
try
just
not to
wanted to
make it so
highlight that
complicated.
so people don't think they have to have a whole gym to work with you and you can work with them. And talk about, because I don't know if everybody knows this. I do because I was a former personal trainer myself as well.
Mhm.
But why is that important? So if we're losing muscle, it really starts early after what, like age 25, we start losing micro muscle, but it increases as we get older and we're losing more and more muscle. Why is that important, especially for women in perimenopause, to either get back some muscle or maintain or even build muscle? Why is that important?
But having lean muscle is so important to maintain or build and maintain. I should flip that. For a couple things. First of all, for your strength and for your support for your bone health
Bones.
for the future. Strength training also, as far as with muscle, is metabolically active too. So
What does that
when you
mean?
are
I know what
at
it means, but
risk, right?
tell people what that means.
so, so when women are going with the struggle of fat loss, for example, and they're like, "Gosh, I'm having trouble with this." One of the great things about maintaining and building lean muscle mass is that you burn calories at rest
Yeah.
when you're inactive, and it's so important. But those are the two things. Is it two? Did I say two?
Yep.
And then and then also just with strength training, just in general as well, it helps with just functional movement
Yes.
because we could just the basic things that we just take for granted sometimes. We definitely need that as we get older. So that's why I mentioned it's never too late for women to build muscle. But the key thing too is not to be afraid of lifting heavier weights,
Yes, I
ladies.
was
So
going to bring
those
that up. Yes.
yeah, lifting heavier weights is key. Now that's very subjective because what's heavy to one person might not be
Right.
heavy to another person. That's why I'm clarifying that. But if you're in this, hamster wheel, just running, doing the same thing over and over again, you need to change it because if you're not making changes into your strength training program, challenging yourself with correct form, of course, then the body gets kind of just used to it. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
All right, no changes. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you are lifting heavier weights for sure.
Yes.
Not the same thing
Yes.
over and
You
over
will
again.
not look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, I promise you. We don't have
Yes.
enough testosterone to do
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I love that you introduce that to women who maybe like the woman who was 79, you said when she started with you, or
79, yeah.
79 and started lifting weights. So that's so important. I hope people hear that, why that is
Hmm.
so important. It's the only metabolically active tissue in your body. So if you're not actively building it or replacing it, you're going to lose the very tissue that helps you burn calories, ladies. So don't forget
Ladies,
to do that.
yes.
Yes,
With the plus of mentioning the only way of supporting lean muscle mass is making sure you're getting enough protein in your diet as well. We skip that part, and it's so
that's
important
right.
to make sure you have protein in each meal. How much is that? Varies an individual. That's why I'm not going to put a blanket statement because that varies with each person. So, but
That's why they
definitely,
need to come talk to you, and you can help
yeah.
figure out the protein intake for each individual and their
Yeah.
lifestyle and their activity level. So that's great.
Yeah.
I love that. I think I want to
Yeah.
cover one more thing that I think a lot of women and people in general don't understand, and I didn't understand. But going back to alcohol and nutrition, when you drink alcohol, doesn't matter if it's in a fancy cocktail glass and it's a very expensive French wine or it's a crappy beer. Alcohol is alcohol is alcohol. So when it goes into your body goes on high alert. Oh, she just is drinking that toxin again. Let's let's take all the calories she also ate with dinner and let's shove them aside. We're not going to break those down right now. So we're going to store those, right? And we're going to
Hmm.
make getting rid of this toxin a priority. And so
Yes.
instead of processing food, absorbing nutrients, and doing all the things that are good for you, you're actually putting all those, your body puts all those processes aside and makes getting rid of the alcohol its top priority. So, how does that affect people when they're trying to eat right, getting good food, but yet they're drinking alcohol with their food or after their food? And it's really affecting their goals of losing weight, or I was not absorbing nutrients because of it. So maybe speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, you made a good point of that last part right there, just saying that, it will disrupt the issues of nutrient absorption, which is important for metabolism,
Mm-hmm.
and, if this is a thing of you're focusing on, you know, uh, fat loss or changes in, making changes with your body composition, yeah, nutrient absorption is key because we need those nutrients to help. In addition to that, besides nutrient absorption, I just lost my thought there, Maureen. Hold on.
That's okay.
Ooh, I need to edit right
We
there.
can edit.
I was just like, wait, why can't I talk? Hold on. Okay. Okay. So with okay, let me start back. Okay. Ask me the question one more time and then I'll be able to answer it. So I'll pause for a second.
I think it's important to help people understand when they're drinking alcohol with food, whether they're having cocktails before they're eating or they're having while they're eating or afterwards, it affects nutrient absorption because your body makes it a priority to get rid of the toxin of alcohol and puts all the other processes aside and stores calories as fat.
Yeah, and the key is that when we are drinking alcohol, and it depends on how much as well, can make a
Mm-hmm.
difference as too. So, but the thing is that yes, it affects nutrient absorption, and it can affect your results as far as if you're trying to make changes with your
Yeah.
body composition. You've also added too, yeah, it will also be a potential where you're going to be storing more fat as well, or storing fat. And where is that usually, especially with elevated cortisol levels,
Yes.
increase in fluctuation in blood sugar. Um, all of these can play a role where, with the changes in body composition and perimenopause, I'll say that specifically, goes right to the abdominal area. And one of the things with the abdominal area with increase in fat, we're looking at visceral fat. That's the one
Mm-hmm.
where it's more inflammatory as well, but can also put risks for like cardiovascular disease, increases with the risk of diabetes, for
Yeah.
example, even some high risk for cancer. So all of those things can play a role with alcohol,
Yeah.
the inflammation in the gut, fat storage, what type of fat storage, where it's located in the abdominal area. All of the things can play a role to put a higher risk, but also affecting how it may not support your fitness goals too,
Yeah.
or your health
Yeah.
goals, depending on where you're at with that.
So I think it's, going back to what we talked about earlier about being mindful. Okay, I'm working with Pam. I'm trying to make these changes. I'm tired of feeling like crap from perimenopausal symptoms, and yet I'm mindlessly drinking this wine. And just helping people, hopefully, who listen to this podcast, start thinking about it is calories. You are taking it in. You can't discount it like I used to do and pretend it
I'm
didn't
drinking it. It should be
affect. Yeah,
fine. Yeah.
right. So I'm
Yeah.
speaking from experience. There's no judgment here. I'm just saying to help everybody become more mindful of everything they're putting in their body, and that it does have an effect on your goals if you want to help yourself feel your best during perimenopause or menopause, or just for the rest of your life, really.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and I wanted to add one last thing about
Yeah.
that. With alcohol, too, it can inhibit protein synthesis. So, as far as you increasing your lean muscle mass, alcohol can actually cause an issue, be an issue for that too. Where you're trying to maintain lean muscle mass, alcohol
Yes.
can actually interfere with that
It
process.
inhibits the protein muscle synthesis. So what does that mean in everyday terms, protein muscle synthesis?
So, for example, where we have your, I'll just say it like for your intake for nutrient absorption, right? We're having protein to help support your lean muscle mass, but then alcohol can also will interfere with that. So when it
Right.
comes down to you trying to improve or maintain your lean muscle mass, it can interfere with that. In addition to like dehydration, also can play a role. You're
Yes.
trying to intake with water, but if you're drinking alcohol, also that can cause dehydration. You don't feel your best when you work out the next day. All those things can play a role.
Yeah.
Again, if your fitness goals are specific to certain things, if alcohol may be interfering in that, process as far as like, I want to reach a certain goal, you might want to reevaluate how alcohol plays a role in your life
Yeah. So it
or your
goes back to
goals for
that
that matter.
curiosity piece. Okay, I'm doing all these
Yeah.
things that Pam is saying, but I'm not changing this one thing. I wonder if that could be holding me back, slowing me down. So that's just really kind of the message, is to think about it, become more mindful and aware, like you use those words, and
Hmm.
curiosity. So
And the three C's that you said.
say it again.
In
What
your
are the
Instagram reel, your three C's.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Remind me which one. I do a lot of them. See,
First is
curiosity.
curiosity, compassion,
Yes.
and courage.
There you go. Yep. And that applies to both type of people we work with, adding those three C's: curiosity, compassion, and courage. Courage to make the changes. So, and I know Pam can help you with that courage to make these changes. If she can get me to walk down a stage in high heels and a blinged out bikini, she can help you address your perimenopause symptoms and make some really good lifestyle changes. So let me ask you this question, Pam, that I ask everybody. What do you do in your life to feel sober fit? And when I ask that, I mean, it could be mentally fit, physically fit, spiritually fit. What do you incorporate for your own self in your life?
Um, I do this kind of daily thing in the mornings that I get up early enough where it's quiet and peaceful in my home. And I actually will go out on the balcony, have a little cup of coffee after breakfast, and just quiet. I just need that quiet time to kind of gather my thoughts and how my
Mm-hmm.
day is going to go. And I always make sure that it's just this positive mindset as best I can. Even when I know it might be a long, stressful day or things are going on, I always go, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Yeah. But I always try that quiet time first thing in the morning for myself.
So important.
Just get that peace. Yeah. Just to get that peace, because once you start going, boy, it's just on going, right? You're on a run. And especially for someone as a, with working with health and wellness, and we're working with the clients, I want to make sure I am there 100% for them and
Right.
also for my family. So that's just so important. I invest that time, and that little window, even if it's 15, 20 minutes, helps me out a lot.
I love that. So you're sitting in stillness, which you're doing that before your day gets going. So you're grounding yourself. You're starting with this morning routine that helps set the rest of your day.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
such a good
Write little
choice.
notes in a note, a notebook or something like that with affirmation or just my thoughts. Just kind of dump everything on a piece of paper so I already
Yeah.
know what I'm going to do for the day or just clear my mind. So, yep, that's
And
what I
what are your
do.
favorite hobbies?
Besides working out.
Yeah, I know. I say that too, right? That's one of mine. So yes, besides. What's number two?
You know what? And I love music, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that a hobby? I
Yeah.
love playing music, so I'm constantly will either play music in my home and just sit. I love being out on my balcony, so it's kind of one of those things. I just love listening to music, and I'll go back and go. I feel like a '90s or '70s or an '80s moment. So yeah, I'll do that. That's like one of my hobbies. And I like to consignment shop. Don't
Ooh,
judge me. Don't
I
judge
love
me.
that. I love that. That takes patience. So
That
I
takes
think that's good.
patience, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where can our listeners who want to learn more about or connect with you, where can they find you? And I'll of course put it in the show notes, but how can they find you?
Easy way to find me is if you type in synergywithpam.com. You will find my website there. Definitely can't chance to review some of the information there. And if you wanted to schedule a discovery call with me, I would be more than happy to talk to you. Definitely let me know that you actually listen to podcasts, just as a reference to. And socials is Synergy with Pam as well with Instagram. I'm mainly on Instagram. I have Facebook too, but I'm mainly on Instagram. But remember, Synergy with Pam. Easy to
Synergy
remember.
with Pam. So that's where you
Yeah.
can find her, and she is well worth looking into and working with. So thank you so much, Pam, for being here. I loved catching up with you and talking with you.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me to this moment. I love it. I'm honored. I really appreciate it all, Maureen. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have you ever Googled, am I an alcoholic? Me too. And here's the thing, it's not a helpful question. Those quizzes just slap on a label. Yes, you are. No, you're not. But what if it's not about the label and more about how drinking actually makes you feel? That's why I created Am I Drinking Too Much? It's the quiz I wish had existed when I was searching. No scare tactics, no rock bottom required. You'll get your results and a free guide that explains gray area drinking, plus 3 science-backed strategies to reduce or interrupt cravings. Take it at soberfitchick.com/MI. That's MI, as in, am I drinking too much? Soberfitchick.com/MI.